Welcome back to the Become Limitless podcast. This week's episode, we're going to cover minimalism. Now, for those of you that don't actually know what minimalism is, it's a tricky one to describe, but it's downsizing. It's removing a lot of junk that you don't have. You know, you move house, or if you've ever had to move house and you realise, geez, I didn't realise I had that stuff. Removing that stuff, removing that clutter, that's what the minimalist is doing. They remove all that stuff. They only have necessary stuff, only the stuff they use very regularly. So there's obviously different scales of being a minimalist. They can have a minimalist that only has up to 100 things and will travel the world, like they don't own any real possessions. They just have 100 things, really necessary things, obviously clothes and whatever they're using to travel around with. Then on the other side of things, you've got people that are just trying to get rid of the rubbish, the junk that they don't ever have, like they're just holding on to. And I know in Australia it's a problem. Like we continually buying bigger and bigger houses to store all the stuff that we have. No other reason. And you look at how popular storage units are. We haven't got enough room in our houses and our garages to hold all this stuff we have. What possible use could we have with all this stuff? So this week I wanted to cover minimalism because I believe that if we do this, we can really help ourselves become limitless, to remove a lot of clutter, to free up our minds, to free up a lot of time, and to stop buying things that we don't necessarily need. Because we all know that those ads work. They work well. There's a whole reason why they spend. There's a massive amount of money pumped into advertising and marketing to get you to buy. To get you to buy all the stuff that you don't want, to get you to get the stuff that you feel like you're lacking. You feel like this, you'll feel like that. If I get this, I'm going to be better. And that's what they target. That's what they get at with all that the marketing and the ads. So that's why I wanted to cover this, to maybe alleviate some of the junk that you've got in your life, and to try and change your mindset about purchasing things, getting brand new stuff, like constantly having to get the latest, greatest thing, and always spending money on XYZ and never having enough money to fulfill or fill a void, or whatever you're trying to fill in your life. That might be the case why a lot of people have shopping addictions and things like that. It's because they're trying to fill a void in their life, and this minimalism will allow you to remove a lot of the junk that you don't actually need. Only buy necessary things, only buy necessary items. And I'm going to share a story from one of the guys when I was researching this topic, and how they went about approaching it. And I'm going to share a couple of different ways of approaching minimalism that can help you. So you can either do a really radical change, or you can slowly implement it into your life. And hopefully that's not such a shock to the system, but some people like just to do the shock way. So there's two different ways you can do it. I'm going to cover both of those. Now, I found a really good meaning for minimalism, and what it is it's a tool to rid yourself of life's excesses in favor of focusing on what's important, so you can find happiness, fulfillment, and freedom. As I said before, it's just decluttering, getting a lot of the rubbish that you don't actually find fulfillment in, you don't find freedom from, you don't find happiness in. You don't find happiness in the brand new car. You don't find happiness in that. You will find a little bit, like it's shallow. You will get certain happiness to start with, but then again, your brain gets familiar with it. Eventually, it's just another thing you own, and it costs XYZ, and you've spent so much time accruing this money to get that. That's where we go into minimalism, as in buying only necessary things, and things that are actually going to have value in your life and create more value for your life. So we want to change where we put value and what we put value on. So instead of the material things in your life, like your brand new car, or this big flash house, or the latest and greatest phone or gadget, or whatever the case may be, we start putting it onto stuff like time. And like, I don't want to have to work the extra hours or the overtime to pay for this. I want to have the time to go and explore, go do those things that fulfill you, to make you feel happy. I want to learn guitar, I want to go play guitar, I want to go do any of those number of things that give you, that fill you inside, fill that cup inside, fill that purpose inside you. Okay, let's start off with credit card debit. Let's go right there, because as a result of buying all this stuff and having more stuff and having more stuff and having the latest and greatest gadgets and all these things, all these nice new pretty shiny things, there's a financial burden that happens there, and obviously results in you having to work more to pay off the financial burden or the financial debt you've got yourself in. Now, this is just the average credit card balance for Australia. It's 2,813 Australian dollars. Now, that doesn't sound like much, but when you look at the spending a month on each one of these credit cards, it's 22,990,000,000. So let me say that again: 22 billion with a B, 990 million with an M. So $22,990,000,000 spent every month on credit cards. So credit cards are used in Australia. This is Australia. That's an astounding number. What are we purchasing? What's like? I know there's a lot of people out there buying stuff, but that is a massive, massive amount of money. And what are we purchasing? It turns out we're purchasing stuff that we don't actually need. So much stuff that we don't actually need. What was your last purchase? Think about what the last purchase was. What was it? What was the purpose of that purchase? What were you buying it for? Was it to impress someone? To have because someone else had it? Were you feeling lacking, like because I didn't have it, I needed to have it, I need to have it, why didn't I have it, why I need to have that? I found myself in the same trap where I can't constantly upgrade my phone. The contract would run out. I could use the old phone. The old phone's perfectly fine, but instead I'd go up for the brand new, the latest thing with the new gadgets with it, all the crazy stuff. And it's like I came to a realization. It's like, well, why am I doing? Why am I spending money, more extra money on this? Like, I really don't need to be spending money on it. Why don't I keep using the phone? Just get my data and phone, all the allowances that you come with it. You just buy a pack with it, and I'll be saving oodles of money, heaps of money a month. Why am I spending it on getting a brand new phone? It's because of marketing. The marketing pumps into your brain that you need the latest and greatest phone, or you're nothing without it. You're not who you are without it. You've got to have the latest and greatest phone, or you are nothing. Are you? Is it a symbol for how much money you make? Is it a success thing? Like, do you look more successful wearing the latest and greatest watch or sunglasses or all the kinds of things? Like, you think about sunglasses as well. You might have to fork out $300, $400 for an expensive pair of sunglasses that do the exact same job as a pair of sunglasses that are maybe just a little bit less great quality, but cost a lot less, like maybe 5-6 times less money, but it'll do the same job. So you've got to look at those things. Why am I wearing this brand? It literally is just buying your brand. You're buying a brand for a status. Is it because you judge from people? What are people going to judge you on? What you're wearing, your appearance, and what your clothes are. And as soon as you release that feeling of people caring what people think about what you wear, you become so very free. You no longer need to buy the expensive stuff. You can just go down and buy your Target or whatever the equivalent is in your country. Whatever that is, you can buy the cheap stuff, because as long as the clothes fit you and they last a certain amount of time, I don't care what it costs. I'm wearing clothes because they feel comfortable. I'm wearing clothes because they cover my body. They're doing what they're supposed to do. It's irrelevant how much they cost and whether it's a Gucci or the most top of the line clothes. It's unnecessary. And this is the kind of thinking you have to get into. And this is what minimalism allows you to do. To start thinking about, what am I actually purchasing? And when I started to go through and start throwing stuff away, you realize how much rubbish and stuff that when I was single, obviously, before I was married, I accumulated so much stuff. Just rubbish. Things that you don't need. Things that you just buy for the once-off use, or not even for the once-off use. Sometimes just buy because it was off the cuff or off the whim. Like, you just, oh yeah, I need to get that. And then you just never use it. So I thought I was a pretty savvy spender of my money. But now I look back at what I was doing and what I was spending my money on wasn't smart. I needed to have the latest and greatest phone, gadgets, watches, even exercise equipment, like exercise watches. I need to have the best one there. Like, why? The difference between the top tier and the bottom tier fitness tracking watches isn't like, it's all these bells and whistles that I never use. Like hiking or altitude stuff. Like, I live in a flat area. Like, there's no way I need the altitude monitoring and all those kind of crazy things that come with these watches that you don't need. Buying a car, There's another one where you buy the latest, the best, the top of the line model, but then you look at it and go, well, what does the chrome trimmings and heated seats and all those kind of things really give you? Like, oh, yeah, a little bit of comfort, a little bit of style, but is it worth the extra $15,000-$20,000 normally that you're paying for the same car? The car is the same. The engine, the drivetrain, the wheels, they're all the same. Okay, they might look different. The mags, you might have mags, you might have steels. It's all just appearance. And there's no difference in performance. So the car, you really got to weigh up what you're doing with the cars. And that's what I found, that I was just buying the latest and greatest, and I was buying into it. I was literally buying into it. So it's very important now that I've become more aware, and that's all because of my lovely partner Kim. She's really helped me that way too, to see that a lot of rubbish, a lot of the stuff that you just, why are you buying that? And she asks me the questions and things like that, and so now I've got to start to go through all my stuff. Like my shed is just riddled with rubbish that I barely ever use, hardly ever use. I buy it just to do something, or convenience, or well, you need to have one of those. So now I'm going to start going through and really assessing whether I need to buy something. Do I need this? Why do I need this? Okay, how many times am I likely to use it? Can I borrow it from someone else? Is there a second-hand option? Am I able to hire it from a shop? Is there a better way of getting this item and using it for the time that I'm going to use it? Because most of the time you buy these tools, my tools, and I only use it a couple of times. I might as well just borrow it off a friend or hire one or something like that, instead of buying a purchase and having it sit there and clutter my shed. And the push bikes, oh my gosh, I was bad with push bikes. So I've still got a couple sitting there, and I've really got to go through, and I've got to jettison some of those things, get rid of some of these things that I don't need. So for the shed, I got it off the Minimalist website. They've got a couple questions here. There's a few questions that you ask. So why is this in my shed? When did I last use this item that was in my shed? Does this need to go back into the shed? If so, why does it need to go back in? And if I didn't put this back into my shed, what might be the consequence? And if you ask yourself those questions in each item that you take out of wherever the case may be, so for me that's just my shed, that's a example. You might be doing it for your home or whatever the case may be. It allows you to really think through the process of, okay, so I've got this circular saw. When was the last time I used it? I can't even remember the last time I used a circular saw. Does it need to get back in my shed? No, I don't believe it does. And you can see where by doing this, it allows you to think really rationally about it, not emotionally, because there's a lot of things that you hold on to. I find, especially when you've got kids, that you're just holding on to because it's like a piece of them, or I don't know what the case is. Like the drawings and things that kids do, and you sit there, and I talk to Kim about it too. It's like, why do we hold on to this stuff? Yes, the kid got what they wanted out of it. Like my child was able to produce that. They were able to bring it over to me. They were able to ask me, like, can you look at this, Dad? Look at this, Dad, Mummy. Look at that. And we can be proud of what they've done, and they get that sense of fulfillment. We can display it for a certain amount of time, but after a certain amount of time, the kids moved on. They don't care about the picture anymore. They've got what they wanted out of it. They got what they needed out of it. They grew from it, and now they've moved on to something else. So why are we holding on to this stuff? Why are we holding on to all this information? All this rubbish as such as it becomes, when it's just sitting there cluttering areas, sitting in filing cabinets, sitting on walls, or sitting wherever it is. We should be moving on to the next stuff, the latest stuff that they're making. What are you doing now? Let's put that up. Let's look at that. Yeah, let's go. Yeah, excellent. And we just move that on. We move that on because you're at a different stage in your life. And my wife came up with a good one that it's like, well, how am I going to remember that they did it? Well, you remember. You're the one with the memories in your brain. The child's just there. Remember from them. Remember all those times. Remember all those things that happened. Those things can be removed. You don't need those items, those material things to remember about the good times, about the achievements of your child. You don't need that stuff. All that is just cluttering your house, your area, that you can get rid of. So you can see now that minimalism isn't really about getting rid of stuff per se, but more about taking control of your life, taking control of what do I want to own, what do I want to have, what gives me joy, what items does actually bring me joy, what items give me purpose, what items do I actually use, instead of buying things that other people want you to buy, or what the consumer wants you to buy, or what the ads want you to buy. It's about gaining that control back. So now we've got an idea of what minimalism is and what the purpose of minimalism is. What are we going to do it for? Why do we want to do this? Let's go into those two ways to approach minimalism. So there's a radical way that I've found, and then there's a nice easy way that you can start to do it. Also, if you want to check out theminimalist.com, they've also got a 30-day minimalist game that you can approach that way too, which makes it a bit easier for you to use. And they've got heaps of resources on there. Those guys are all over it too. So if you want more information, go check them out as well. So let's get into these two ways to approach minimalism. So the first way, the radical way, is to pack all your things up like you're going to move. Pack it all up. Put it into boxes. Put everything into boxes that you own. Absolutely everything. Your shed, your car, your house. Pack it all the way into boxes. Pack everything into boxes. Label it all really well so you know exactly where everything is. So you've got your kitchen utensils here. You've got all your Tupperware containers. Everything into a box. You've got all your stuff that sits in your drawers, in your computer area, your study area, your computer parts, your bits and pieces that you got lying around, keyboards, mouses, you name it, your clothes, everything. Now, over the next 3 weeks, just unpack the things that you need to use. Go through and unpack the things you need to use. This will allow you to really find the things that you are necessary, have purpose, that you have for a purpose, that you own to do a certain job, or that you use because you find joy in it. They actually bring you joy. And a really radical way of going, okay, and then what do you do the rest of the stuff? It's 3 weeks in and you haven't used it. Good chance you're not going to use it anymore. Good chance you don't need it. So start donating it. Start selling it. This frees up so much clutter in your house. I know in a lot of the research that I've done, that when they do this method, that 80% of the stuff in the boxes stays in there within 3 weeks. And they go longer. Some of the people go longer than 3 weeks, they go a month. But it doesn't really make a difference. That 80% still doesn't get pulled out. It's that same 20% that everyone uses. The 80% that just you don't use. You don't use it. So that's a way that you can approach this. This is a very, very radical way, and it can be hard for people because you've got a lot of things in there that you're attached to. And that's what we want to try and get away from, being attached to material things and move towards being attached to the things that matter. Contributing, growing, family, having community. All these things that we start to step away from when we start to go towards having material items as having more value than they should. Now the second way we can do it is each day go through a section. Each day go through a place. So for myself and my lovely wife Kim, we're going to go through each day and just go through a drawer in a kitchen, in our bedroom, in the drawers, in the study, in the bathroom, and we're just going to clear out a drawer. Go through. If we haven't used it in the last 3 weeks, month, it's binned. It's gone. We don't need it, obviously, because we use a lot of things. Having 4 kids, so we do use a lot of things very often. But we found that there's a lot of stuff that was just junk. It was throwing away a lot of rubbish, a lot of paper that was just lying around, books, the cardboard boxes. This thing that I have a thing for holding on to the box of electronics or TVs or things like that. I'm not sure why. And as soon as I started doing this, I realized, why am I holding on to that? Like, that's just rubbish. Recycle it. Get it out of the house. Free up some space. And it's amazing how much bigger my house feels now we've started doing it. And I will share some more cleaning out or doing the minimalist approach on Instagram. So make sure you stay tuned in. And if you're not following me on Instagram, make sure you get on there and follow me. That way you don't miss out on any of that stuff as well. So those are the two things we'll go. So each day, and we're going to keep going until we finish the house. Go through the house, go through the cars, go through the shed, go through out the back as well in the patio. I'm going to do the exact same thing. If we haven't used it in the last 3 weeks to a month, it's gone. Now, I hope that that's given you a good definition of what minimalism is and why you want to do it, why you want to approach it. And then hopefully those last couple of things there allow you to approach minimalism and get you into it and see how it goes. Now, any feedback is fantastic, so send it through the Facebook, Instagram, on the Anchor. Send me a voice message if you want to. Any feedback on how your minimalist journey is going, or anything, any other topics that I cover in this podcast, hit me up. Send me any messages that you have or any questions that you have, and I might even do a Q&A episode eventually when I have enough questions. I'll answer them on an episode. So thank you very much for listening to this episode.